Welcome to Make Pods Great Again. I'm your host, John, back with my bestie, Nikki. Nikki, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
You're all giggles. Like now that Zoom has this little warning at the beginning that we're recording, you get all giggly like you've never heard that before.
I'm stifling my laughter because, not because she was like, this is not recording, but because you were like, don't laugh when that bitch starts talking.
Hey, it was funny. It's
I was
always
like, I don't
funny.
know what you're talking about, but yes, now I have consented to this being recorded.
Awesome. I hope everyone is consenting to listen. And speaking of consenting, let's consent them an ad real quick. Talk about
Girl.
our sponsor this week, Grill Your Ass Off. Still loving them, by the way.
I know, me too. If you've been listening for the last couple of weeks, then you know that John and I are basically obsessed with the spice company. They're veteran owned. They make these spice mixes that you can like use as seasoning or you can use as dry rubs. We use them when we smoke meats. And they're so good. They're like really cool combinations of flavors. There's like a sweet habanero one. There's like a smoked sea salt they make that I love. Like really, really good stuff.
Taco seasoning, fajita
Yeah.
seasoning. Your boy can cook, by the way.
Ooh.
And I made breakfast for my daughters 2 days ago, and I used some of the spices on the eggs and the hash browns. It was a good Southern breakfast and
Ooh.
very tasty. So huge props off to Grill Your Ass Off. And you get 15% off by using our code. What is it, Nikki? Give it up.
It's S15.
There you go. Ask 15. We get a lot of grief for cursing on this podcast. I feel bad that our our lead sponsor sounds like we are, but I swear to you, they have a donkey for their logo. So
That's right. That's right. Is ass a curse word considered to be?
I don't know. Depends on who you ask.
I mean, depends on who you ask.
Depends on who you ask. Let me ask you a
Well,
question. Okay.
but no, highly recommend. Please check them out. And they also have like a bunch of other things. They have like jerky. They have really funny merch, like funny gear, barbecue aprons, t-shirts, things like that. And yeah, again, veteran owned, really awesome company, really great to work with. Highly recommend. Please check them out.
Highly recommend.
Yeah.
All right. Let's talk about your weekend. You were a bridesmaid.
I was a very large bridesmaid.
Oh no, you look great. You weren't very large.
Great.
You look great.
Did you see Matt trolling my Instagram post?
No, what did he say?
Well, because like people are very kind, and I like posted a picture of the two of us from the wedding, and people are like, "Oh, you look really nice," or like you're glowing or whatever. And I just noticed this afternoon that Matt like went in and trolled everyone on my post, and I was like, "Thank you, I felt great. Oh,
Jeez.
thanks, that's so nice of you."
Oh, well, I thought you looked great. I like the
Thank
images.
you.
Were you sad you missed all the CrossFit festivities over the weekend?
I was. It was a bummer. It was a bummer to not be able to like sit. Well, all my friends were sitting and watching. I even had my best friend Whitney come over to the house at one point over the weekend to like let the dogs out, and she was like, "I'm just gonna chill here and watch Granite Games for a while, so that I don't have to put Griff back in his crate." And I was like, "Oh,
Oh,
that's
well,
fun."
I had a long weekend on the couch in front of the TV.
Yeah.
Barely left for 3 days. I woke up. I watched, Friday, and then Saturday rolls around. I'm like, all right, this is going to be an all day event for me. So I had not done Murph yet because we're down at the Mac, and I had
Right.
to drive back on that Monday, and I didn't have anywhere to make it up here in Cleveland, or at least anywhere that I knew of. So I'm like, I'll do it on my own at home, and I'll wait. And so I did it Saturday morning, and I was wrecked the rest of the
Oh,
day. So I was so glad I just got to sit on the couch and watch other people work out
yup.
while all I did was eat. I ate all day long after that workout and just sat there and watched people do fitness. It was
Ooh, did
lovely.
you eat anything good?
No, well, yes and no. Food was fine, but I'm kind of in like meticulously tracking mode right now. This is such a CrossFit thing. So the games are coming up, and I know I'm gonna be taking pictures, so I want to look good. So I'm tracking food right now,
Okay.
and it is hard to eat well and track, like to eat what you want and track. Like,
Yeah.
like I don't feel guilty about what I eat. I really don't. I try to live with good balance. Like I eat foods I like, but it really makes you think about your portion sizes. And it's
Yeah.
like when you're starving after a workout and you got to sit there and do math in your head, it sucks. Sucks
Ugh.
hard, but it was fine. I had plenty of snacks and
It's tough to just like change your habit. Like that first couple of weeks when you're getting into it, if you haven't really been doing it and you're like, oh, okay, I really got to dial it in. I'm very nervous about that, like postpartum, because I've been just doing what forever for like
Right.
7 or 8 months. And like, I know that the hardest part, it's not going to be like, it won't be hard to like eat good food and fuel my body, but it's just the lifestyle change of like, oh, don't demolish an entire bag of Cheetos right now. Okay.
Well, what's weird about it, after workout like Murph, because you also track your exercise. So I had gained a lot of, calorie credits because of that.
Point.
Yeah, because of you spend almost an hour doing Murph, if you're
Yeah.
doing it with or at least I do when you do it in a vest. And so I had more calories to take in that day than I normally would. So I'm like, all right, I got to eat more. But now you're so famished, it's still not enough.
Mhm.
It's a rough cycle. It was a really, really rough
Well,
cycle, but I survived. So
and you enjoyed yourself watching Granite
I
Games?
did. It was great. I got so many thoughts on the Granite Games. First of all, first thought, I mean, because we didn't get to watch the MAC on TV. We were there, So this is my first time watching a produced event, probably since what would have been the last one? Maybe last year's
An
online.
announcement? Or yeah, games last year.
Yeah, I mean, when they were at the round of 30, like I don't count the open announcements because it's two people working out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, games then. Really?
Yeah, yeah, and so it was the production quality was great, and it was fun to just be able to sit there and watch and like follow a schedule.
Yeah.
Um, but I thought they did a great job. Like everything, my pet peeves, everything ran on time, which
Yep.
which is a big thing for me. And they backed everything up because of the heat. It was like stifling hot in Minnesota. They get like 2 hot days a year, and they both happen to be on Granite Games. And so it was like 120 degrees down on the field for these poor athletes. So they backed everything up to like, I want to say 4:30 or 5, so no one would die, which is very smart. But they did a good job of communicating that, and the live stream was updated so you knew when it was starting, and all that other jazz. So it was good. Oh, hold on, Nikki. You totally froze.
I did. I lost you for a second, but I agree that backing things up for the athletes was a smart way to do it. Even though it kind of jacks them up, and I thought to myself when I first looked at the schedule for Friday, I was like, that sucks, especially for the East Coast athletes who are going to have to work out at like 10 p.m. But looking at the temperature, like, is safer for everyone. Is so much better.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. At the end of the day, they all lived through it. It was kind of fun to watch them under the lights.
Yeah.
I was getting a little nervous, wondering, all right, when the sun goes down, is the grass going to start to get wet, or are we going to have any potential accidents? But none of that happened. It was fine. They were all good. So in that aspect, I thought the production aspect was good. Online feed was good. They did a nice job updating Instagram. It was a little weird, like, you had Tommy and Chase doing the commentary. And so it's weird having Tommy without Sean. It's like peanut butter
Mm,
without jelly.
mm,
But Chase is great.
yeah,
He's really, really great. So they were great together. It's just like you hear Tommy's voice and then you expect Sean and then you get
totally.
Chase. You're like, that's weird.
Yeah, totally. I
But
felt
then,
I felt sad watching the Instagram because that's been my job at Granite for the last 2 years, and I
right,
had like serious FOMO because we haven't had a stream in a little while. Or like I think Flow Elite maybe did a stream, but there was like no commentary. Like we hadn't had this type of production in a minute, and so I like really fell into the Granite Games community over the last couple of years by being like the face of the Instagram, quote unquote, over the
right.
weekend. And so I was like seeing it being like, oh, I wish it could be me.
I
Oh,
bet.
oh,
Well,
oh, oh,
every time the sideline reporter would pull somebody over, I'd be like, oh, that should be Nikki.
oh. But Derek did a good job.
Derek was great. He
Yeah.
was really good. It was different. It was different. Like, just seeing different people on the sidelines, but I kind of liked the variety a little bit. Not that I don't love
No, you
watching it,
didn't.
but I
No, you
did.
know, I'm kidding.
I
Of course.
did.
I did too. I did too. I really like our whole team. Truly, truly. We round out events really well all together.
Yeah. So from that aspect, it was good. And you still got a little flavor of Sean in there, by the way, because they would run commercials and it would be him doing the voiceover.
Oh yeah.
So that part would be weird. It's like all of a sudden there's Sean talking. And you're like, "Man, he's not there. What's going on?"
The
But
voice of CrossFit. He should update
no,
his Instagram bio to say that. The voice of CrossFit.
he really should. He's got the greatest voice in all of radio. My
Should
opinion.
I update mine to say fittest nose on earth?
I think you could. I think that would be good. I
I
like.
told you about that, right?
No.
I never told you, but this was a long time ago. Sorry, sidetrack, and then we can talk about Granite Games. This was years ago, and the reason why like Ling and Mike and Larry started calling me the fittest nose on earth, because somebody, I mean, obviously because I have a huge nose, but somebody a million years ago on Instagram just had like this wicked grainy close up of a nose on the stream, and they all they posted was at reporter Nicole or at Bill Grundler question mark. And I was like, I honestly don't know. And the hashtag was fittest nose on earth. And I was like, I honestly don't know. And I laughed so hard because I thought it was hilarious. And this stranger ended up messaging me and took it down and was like, I'm sorry I put that up. That was mean. And I was like, no, I want to be the fittest nose on earth. What are you talking about?
We should make shirts. It would be
I
great.
mean, we should make like eyeglass nose mustache things.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, all in all, with the exception of not getting to see your lovely nose on the sideline,
Mm-hmm.
it was great.
Oh, good.
It was really good production. Let's
Hell
talk
of
about
a competition too, huh?
yeah. Well, I was going to say
Yeah.
let's talk about the competition. It was
Yeah.
crazy. Like, well, first of all, the programming was really good.
Yeah.
Which I always appreciate good programming. I didn't think there were, sometimes I watch these events, I'm like, what the heck are they thinking? Like, it's dangerous, or so it's just a weird event. But I didn't get that from any of them. I felt like all the events really tested something that needed to be tested. I thought some of it felt similar to the MAC, which I appreciated because I wanted a comparison. Like the snatch event is a good example. Like I wanted to see how the 17-year-old girls could, or young women could hold up against Tia and Brooke and some of these women that have been around longer. But then you get the variety of events you haven't seen before, and it was fun.
Yeah, I think programming is so important, probably more important this season than ever before, because we're in this new territory of these autonomous and independent events that get to run themselves, obviously, like with the help of CrossFit, but have already existed and already know what they're doing and already have their own programmers and people. And we lose what we once had at regionals, which was the consistency of the test across weeks, which, argue it whichever way you want, it was boring to some people or not, it was a consistent test. So I'm really glad to see such quality programming across the semifinals, because it's new territory and I think it's working out really well so far.
Yeah, and there was nothing boring in this weekend. Like, the competitor, there's always complaints from people. Like I got a lot of emails from people, voicing opinion on the athletes. And I appreciate that. Like everybody has their favorite athlete, and, it's like any sport, which I'm going to put in air quotes, that, people think they have it all figured out. So it doesn't bug me, but at the same time, like I like to watch the events for what they are. And see what the individual athletes can do without really comparing them any more than I need to, knowing that the games is a completely different experience. Like it's really hard to sit there and go, all right, well, Mal and Emma, the two 17-year-olds, just are not going to compare at the games when we haven't really seen whether they will or won't. I mean, most people were saying they weren't going to come into this event and blow people's doors off, and they proved that completely wrong.
LOL.
Yeah.
Who said that? You was wrong.
Yeah. Well, it's just, it was an interesting thing. And so like, it really started for me, the very first event in the snatch when, Emma snatched 200 pounds, which at 17 years, at any age, that's ridiculous. But, you think 17-year-old young woman snatching 200, at Mal right next to her snatching 195, it was really kind of a mind-blowing moment. And I'm like, all right, well, this is the way this weekend's going to go.
Yep. Yep. Totally.
And it did. But, there's for me, it was the kind of the thrill of the live competition and getting to see the little things that you don't really pick up from watching the box score. Like we'll talk about her a lot here, but Steph Chung, who's been on the show a number of times and is one of our besties, hurt her elbow on the snatch event.
Yeah.
And so now I had that in my mind, like right from the very beginning, oh man, her weekend is going to be far different than she anticipated. And you don't get that from just looking at seeing where people finished. You have to watch that to see it happen. And then you can see the kind of the after effects, event over event over event. That's the kind of the thrill of watching this go down. So
yeah, I think Steph's story is my absolute favorite from the weekend. We're obviously starting by talking about the women, right?
Right. Yeah. Oh
Okay.
yeah. Always.
And outside of the fact that she's one of my closest friends, so I'm biased, but I chatted with her late on Friday, and she didn't know if she had at the time if she had strained or sprained or tore or who knows what, but on something happened on that 200-pound snatch, that didn't sit right with that elbow. And she was really like, I was impressed at her headspace. Obviously, she was upset. It was not the way that she wanted it to go, but we kind of were talking through it. And emotionally, the two of us were like, okay, we don't know what it is. You did the best you could with the treatment, with who you had on the sidelines to help you out. So let's sleep on it. Let's wake up on Saturday morning and feel it out. Like, she was never, ever, I know that she was thinking in her head, like, do I pull out? Do I make it worse? Do I, whatever? There was never a quit in her, though. There was always like, I got to get to this next milestone and evaluate. I got to get to this next event. I got to wake up in the morning and see how I feel. I got to go get treated and then see how I feel. And there is no one I know with that much grit. There is no one else I know that can face injury or adversity. And we call her the comeback kid for a reason. If you have not seen her demolish dumbbell overhead walking lunges in the 2018 regional Meridian, like, go back and watch the footage. She can pull through, she can dig deep, and I'm just so impressed. And she came in eighth, fought her way back from that injury, fought her way back from being like in 15th or 12th place over the first or second day. And her season is not over. She's going to the last chance qualifier. So that is my absolute favorite story from the weekend, because I love her. But because it is just a testament to the nature of the grit of the athletes in this sport, for sure.
Yeah, the first two events did not help her cause, or she likely would have had a much better chance at finishing on the podium.
She would have been on the podium. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, she hurt herself on the snatch, so she lost points there. And then, the very next event were heavy dumbbell thrusters and
And
running.
then she had like 20 minutes in between. Like, she hurt herself, got taped up, and was like, well, I guess I'm going to keep working out. Like,
yeah, and that's, you could tell, like, from watching, it really impacted them. That was a hard workout. And, all of the women and the men too, for that matter, it's just such an unstable movement. You get that kettlebell out, or the dumbbell out of line at all, and it's, I know it's a podcast, you can't see this, but it's carrying out to the right or the left, depending on which one's out of line, and just blows up the whole movement. So there were people failing all over the place, and I'm sitting there watching her going, not only is, she having to deal with that, but she's actually injured.
yeah.
I was worried she wouldn't finish it and would have to withdraw, but to your point, man, she just fought.
How can you not love Steph? If you don't follow her, go follow her on Instagram right now. She's just the best.
Yeah, she was loved I was on the YouTube chat some, which is chaotic, but she's loved in the chat.
Good.
People on the Instagram feeds were raving about her. So
Good.
she's certainly loved. She did a great job.
Good. That's awesome.
We had a winner I was not expecting, even a little. Like, I could totally call, like, I didn't know her prior to the event. Ariel Lowen, like.
Yeah. No, definitely. And we talked about this a little bit when we did the MAC recap too. But like, I love when there's names I don't know, or people I have to research, or like rookies in the top 5, because that's a testament to like what CrossFit is and how you can fall into it and get into a good community and train your way to the top. Like, and no one knows who you are until you get there. Like, fresh blood coming through. Get ready.
Yeah,
awesome.
she had a good first day. Her scores were, she was top 10. So she was certainly on the leaderboard and doing well. But like, at that point, everyone was watching Mal and Emma because they had done so well in the snatch and so well in event 2 that everybody's watching them. So I wasn't paying attention to her. I was like everybody else. And then day 2 rolls around and she dominated, won both events back to back, just crushed them, and like comes, it's like 1,000 degrees on the field, comes walking off, just smiling, like looking like she hadn't done anything. I'm like, oh, I hate you.
I would like to point out that she has like a 2-year-old, I think, a young daughter. So like, I'm definitely going to have this baby and then get like fit enough to go to games for sure.
All right, make it happen. I want to see that. But yeah, it was really cool to see. Like, all of a sudden, I'm like, all right, so we got a new leader, which is which was fun to watch. And she, was obviously able to carry it through to the end of day Sunday. So
Yeah.
really, really impressive to see. She'll be one to watch for the games. When I looked at the other two, second and third, Mal and Emma, that was a really interesting thing to see. Like, I followed Emma since she was in the teen division.
Right.
And I went and saw Mal compete last year at the team throwdown in Detroit. So I had a pretty good sense of what both of them could do. They have wildly different approaches to CrossFit.
Yeah.
And I'd never seen them on the field together like that. And so it was really interesting. It's like Mal is as disciplined as the day is long. She's like a mini Tia.
Yeah.
That's probably a bad analogy. I feel bad making that comparison, but it's what she got that same like kind of stoic approach that I think Tia has, like business-like. She knows what's next. She's not going to vary.
Right.
She
She's
knows
here to
where
do her
she's,
job.
yeah, she knows where she's going to break. Like she leaves nothing to chance. Emma goes for it.
Mm.
Just straight up goes for it, and had a couple of moments where it cost her. And truthfully, with it, and this is not a critique of her because she is amazing. With a couple of non-stumbles or better time breaks, she would have won that event running away.
Mm.
She had it won. At the end, I was heartbroken because I messaged her dad. I love her dad. He's like the typical, like he's just like me if this were my daughter. He's so proud, and he should be.
Yeah.
But and I was kind of messaging him over the weekend, and so I was watching the final event, and she was tied for first going
Yeah.
into the final event, and she had the lead, 5 meters to go. I was literally texting a friend and had text, Emma just won the Granite Games, and I didn't send it because I wanted to see her finish, and she failed, and then failed again, and failed again, and failed again, and Ariel passed her and beat her, and I was heartbroken for this girl. I was like, oh. But she finished third at 17. She's going to go to the games and look good. She's going to do really good.
Same.
So
Terminators, this next round of kids that's coming up through CrossFit, they're not human. I'm telling you.
yeah. Well, I didn't mean to take anything away from Mal by saying she's disciplined. Like, she went out on event 2 and crushed that field. It was like she was just on a completely different game than what everybody else was playing. She has one speed and it's full.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
everyone always says, like, is Haley Adams the next Tia? And I'm sitting here thinking, like, is Mal the next Haley?
yeah.
Too? Or
Well,
are they both just gunning for Tia at this point? I don't know.
I'm dying to see Haley and these two on a field together because they all have that same engine where they just go all out. They don't know when to stop. Like, they just go.
They did. I'm going to sound like I didn't do my research, but I'm pretty sure they competed against each other as teams, right?
Probably. It wouldn't shock me. I mean, like,
I'd have to go back and look if they were in different divisions or whatnot. But
I mean, I've watched them compete as teens. They are such different athletes now than they were even 2 years ago.
sure.
It's like, that's what's really interesting to me watching teen athletes, of how fast they develop and get good at the sport and learn skills. Like, I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but those of us that are masters, I remember it took me a year to learn double unders. Like these teens, you just hand them something, they go, all right, this is how it's done. Okay, boom, done. And they have it figured out. And then they just practice it until they're really, really good at it. Where the rest of us, it takes forever,
Yeah, for sure.
It's just crazy impressive to watch.
Yeah.
I tell you who else was impressive was Pacelli.
I had her in my top 5 this whole time.
Good. You absolutely did.
That girl is tough.
She is strong, is what she is. She was one. She had a few moments where she struggled. She did in others where she was great, but she really, really battled to get back into that top 5. Like, it was impressive to see her fight her way. And then Carolyn Connors came in 5th. There's another one I didn't see coming, but she was a 30-point difference between her and Nicole McGinney, I think is how it's pronounced. And that moment at the end was really, really touching, because when they called her name, like, she just broke down, and that's something I love about live competition is, you watch people get their first invite to the games and they've put in all this hard work. Like, I only relate to, I don't have any experience with like competing, but I know what it's like to hit a goal that you've you strive for. Like when I ran a marathon the first time, I never dreamed I could do it. And when I crossed the finish line, I just broke down and I wasn't expecting it. You know what I mean? Like I crossed line, I'm like, and I just started crying. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with me? But it's like you reach this goal you think is unattainable. And it was the same thing watching her when they called her name, like she just lost it.
Mm,
And it was really, really touching this week. So I'm so excited for her. She'll do well.
very cool.
Very good competitor. And then the only other one that I don't say it's surprising. Oh, it was surprising. Like I thought Christy Aramo finished 7th. And I honestly had her in my top 5. I thought it almost up to the very end she would. She did great. It's a tough competition on both sides, and particularly the women's side. And she made the last chance qualifier, so she could certainly still qualify. She's such a great competitor, though. Like,
Yeah, yeah. I agree. I was surprised. I actually had her winning it in my top 5. And I don't think that is a negative mark on her at all. I think it's just a showcase of how deep the women's field is now and how we can't count out newcomers. We can't count out the teens that are up and coming. You can't, it's just not the names we've always known and loved. Like there's a lot of shakeup. And I think that this past year has allowed for people to get good at this stuff. And
right?
that's cool. I like the competition. I like the drive that everyone's putting in. And I'm really glad that Christy's not out, because the last chance qualifier means that her season's not over and she still gets to fight. I think that for athletes like her and like Steph, that's really important. I'm excited to watch.
Yeah, it was the women. Both sides were great, but the women's side was fun to watch.
Yeah.
And I am really excited to see it because I've had a lot of messages from people around the teens going, "Oh, well, they won't do as well at the games." I'm like, "All right, let's wait and see.
We'll see.
We'll see how they do." Like, and there is the aspect of the games is a longer event and it's different programming.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have said to me, "Well, this programming was or the competition at this event was not as good as the level of competition at the MAC." And I'm like, I'm not sure I agree with that. The competition at the MAC, clearly you had Tia. So, you subtract her though.
Right.
I want to see Mal go against Brooke. And
Yeah.
this thing, not taking anything away from Brooke, because Brooke's brilliant, but I don't know. Like I've seen a lot of people compete, and I'm pretty convinced that Emma and Mal can go in there and be real close.
Yeah. I definitely would not bet against them at this point, for sure.
So we shall see. Men's side.
How excited are you?
Be a proud dad for a second.
Can you please though? Come on.
Oh, my boy Saxon Panchik. So I made fun of him. He played small ball. Like it's like baseball. It's like he just got hits. Never swung for the fences.
Yep.
Just got on base all weekend long. Now, I will say he had a 295-pound snatch, and that kid weighs 175 pounds soaking wet.
Good
So,
Lord.
and he made it look easy. I'm positive he had 305 in him, positive. But, he doesn't swing for the fences. He knew he could hit 295, hit it easy, took his top 5 event and moved on to the next thing. And he did that all weekend long. Just top 5, top 5, top 5, top 5. All the way to the end when he won it.
Mr. Consistency. It's like he learned it from his older brother.
I can't imagine where he learned that.
Oh, wild. Good for him.
Yeah, and what it did show though, and I think some people will criticize that, and I think it's okay to say, well, you don't have any event wins, so is that a weird thing? I look at it and go, that's the mark of someone who would do really well at the games in a long event. Like what kills people at the games is that one event where you finish 35th.
Right. Or having like one big hole in your game for sure.
When you can finish consistently in the top 10, you got a shot at podium. It's
100%.
Really that simple. And so it's going to be a good year for him. And I think that's what he showed this weekend. He doesn't have really any flaws in his game. He's not going to be an event winner. He's not going to be a Matt Frazier that you're all right. He's probably going to win. Out of 10 events, he's going to win 8. He's not going to do that.
He's not in the lead by 500 points, but you don't need to be to get on the podium.
Yeah, he is incredibly well-rounded, which, I've learned to not doubt him, but you look at him and go, God, he weighs 175 pounds. How's he going to tote this 150-pound med ball around in step-ups? And he's
like, watch me.
Yeah, it's really ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. So, great to see. And then Chandler,
Oh,
doing
I'm
what
so
Chandler does.
happy for him. Oh my God. How hard has he been fighting? Just year over year, season over season to become better and to get back to games and to be a good representative of the sport. Like he just warms my heart. I'm so happy to see his success here.
Yeah, his weekend was interesting to me. He had moments where he was the class of the field. You could just see it. Like that last event was one, in the snatch, he looks so comfortable. And lifting has never been, this is not, again, not a slight to Chandler, but I think it's been kind of known that his technique wise, he's never
Yeah,
been known as the most technical lifter, right?
sure.
And he looked great. You could tell he's been working on his lifting,
Yep. Good
and
for him.
even like he had that swagger. He had, he's over 300 pounds on the snatch, and he like looked at the cameraman like, yeah, look at what I did.
Yeah, what's up?
And then he had a few moments where I think he performed at a level lower than I thought he would, and I think maybe even lower than he thought he would. But he just kept battling, just
Yeah.
battle, much like the others, and found himself in second, and he could go win the games again. Like
Oh, for
really,
sure.
really consistent weekend, kind of no quitting him.
I think style points lended some power to the men this weekend.
Yeah, the
Put that
men.
out there because his hair looks good.
Yeah, he's got that blonde hair and the earrings now. I
Hey,
like it. I
I
like
like
it.
it. I like he got out of the army and he was like, finally, I can have fun.
Yeah,
Finally.
that's a big upgrade. I think it looked good. I tell you what, if I looked like Chandler, I would never wear a shirt
Oh,
ever.
never.
I
Psh.
would I would go to the mall shirtless. I'd go to the grocery store. I'd just be
Oh,
walking around
yeah.
all sweaty and buff.
But like extra baggy pants.
Exactly.
Oh, sorry.
Exactly.
It was a small calf joke, but I take it.
Yes.
Chandler, we love you.
Oh, he
Speaking
was.
of speaking of style points, I think that just ginger energy brought Tim Paulson up to third place.
Tim had a really good week. There were a lot of workouts I thought that leaned toward his strength, and he has a lot of strengths, but there were
Really?
some that didn't, and he battled through the ones that didn't and crushed where he needed to crush. That's the one thing I really appreciated him when he needed to win and the things he was good at, destroyed it
Mm-hmm.
and showed what he's capable of. And in the events where probably doesn't lend to his strength, he didn't let it damage him too bad. And that's how you get on the podium. Like if you have something that's a weakness, just don't let it kill you.
Damage control for
Yeah.
sure. For sure. I'm always impressed when I know what people have going on in life. And we talked about this a lot when we were recapping the MAC with Travis Mayer and his 4 kids and newborn at home. Tim still got that little baby boy at home, and he's
Yeah.
dealing with figuring out how to have a family, and Team No Sleep is very, very real. So I hear, and so I'm just extra impressed. I would be impressed with him always. We're huge fans of him on the show, obviously, and the whole family. Mama and Papa Paulson, we are big fans of,
I was
obviously.
texting the dad all weekend. We're going to work out in Madison together. Yeah, Tim, actually, the interesting thing about his weekend, it was so good. He was 2 events away from winning that thing. So he went for it on event 1. He said to me, he let his balls get in the way. It's exactly what he goes. He goes, I let my balls get in the way, and I went for 305 when I should have gone for 295.
All right.
And he missed his lift, and it cost him points.
Yeah.
And then he had, I forget which event it was, but it was one where they had the ring muscle ups, and he got no rep. He says he shouldn't have got no rep. I have not reviewed the video, so I'm not going to dispute his side of the story, but I'm not
Well,
disputing the judge either.
he said he didn't think so, but he was also like, judge's call. So
Yeah.
let's go with it.
Yeah. So let's just go with the judge is right for the sake of this argument. The thing about those rings for this event is that it was super windy out there and they're high rings. So you can't just reach up and touch them. So it took, it was like a 2-minute window was a buy-in to the rest of the workout. And you got to get this work done to do the rest of the work. Right. And the rings are swinging and so it took him, 20, 30 seconds to get to the rings because they're moving around, it cost him a lot of time and cost him points.
Yeah.
And he went into the last event. He was only 11 points behind Saxon.
Yeah.
So he absolutely had a shot at first.
Oh yeah.
So
It's on the guy's side because only like not that much separated him from Roy Gamboa.
yeah, they were that whole group, like the final three were all within, actually, what I have had in my notes, really the final four were all within, 6 to 10 points of each other.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was really close. And Gamboa did great.
How about Roy? Like, how about all that experience? I mean, he's 34 years old. Like,
Yeah.
he's about to be competing with dem masters and coming in fourth. I mean, I think it's like it's cool to see the newcomers, the up and coming athletes, the teens, and then there's friggin' Roy Gamboa, who's been doing this forever and just like waltzed in, like, let me show you what a veteran can do too. I think that's badass.
You make it sound like he's 1,000, and
He's 1,034 years
I
old.
know he's still 15 years younger than me. And you're like, oh my God, he can barely walk. It was so
He's
impressive. He was out there.
he escaped from the crypt to do this competition. No, I mean he's not old. Overall, just for the sport of CrossFit, when you're competing against 17, 18-year-olds, that's tough to hang.
Yeah, he had a very consistent weekend. I hate to say he flew under the radar, but he wasn't the focus of the competition, but he got in the top five, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. The focus of the competition were the big splashes, which was the person who finished in fifth, which was Colton Mertens. The,
Mm,
there tends to be a mullet in every competition now.
has to be at least one. I'm telling you, style points got the guys extra points this weekend.
Well, he had it going on, and then he did back to back to back event wins, which got everyone's attention. Everyone's. He finished like 20th in the snatch event. And so he's like way down the leaderboard. And then he went boom, 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 three in a row. And everybody's like, what the hell just happened?
Who
And
was that guy?
and in event two, he won it running away. Like it was like, again, it was kind of like watching Mal on the women's side. He won it by so much. Everybody's like, what is he doing? Like, how is he going to hold this pace? And he just never stopped,
Yeah. No, he's an animal. I first met him at Wadapalooza a couple years ago and did a couple interviews after he had won some events down there. And I remember thinking that like he just looked like he was built for this.
Oh, he
You know
is
what I mean?
built
Like,
for this. Yeah, he's the right height. He's got the
yeah,
right like leg size. He's
all
like,
the things physically and mentally. Like he was always so positive about everything. And I was like, this kid's got some serious drive. I'm very excited to see how things shake out for him when you change up the structure. Like you said, John, like games is a longer competition. There's a lot more involved. I've never seen him outside of anything like a 2 or 3 day comp, like a Wadapalooza or like a semifinal. So that will be the next test, and I'm excited to see how he does.
yeah, he had some interesting moments where I thought with maybe, and I'm not judging his coaching or anything, but I thought if he had made some different decisions, he might have had some different outcomes. And it's very likely because he is so talented that he made these decisions. So he had one right at the end. They were doing med ball to the shoulder. It was like 150-pound med ball, right? To put it in perspective, Chandler, Saxon were both throwing it over their shoulder and turning around and picking up and tossing it. This kid did touch and goes. Literally holding the ball like a baby, would just bend down, tap it on the ground, and then stand it up to his shoulder, and was doing them in half the time as everybody else on the first round.
On the first round.
And blew himself up.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm watching it going, man, like, first of all, really smart move on his part to pick up a lot of time because he had lost some time earlier in that same workout. And so he's able to make up a lot of ground, but it really cost him. I'm like, if he can like start piecing some of those little things together, figure out where his break should be.
Yeah.
He's got to, because he has one speed and it's really fast and really hard. And with just a couple of tweaks, like this is a guy who can go out and shock people at the games. Like he's talented. He's real talented. So
now I am unfamiliar with the guys who came in 6th, 7th, and 8th for the last chance qualifier. So that's Nick Matthew, Taylor Self, and Austin Spencer. And I am impressed that there are guys that I'm unfamiliar with who beat out other names who I was expecting to maybe take those spots.
Yeah.
Like Drew Wayman, like Scott Tetlow, like Jake Marconi, Street Horners down there too, Mitch Wagner, like all those guys that I've watched compete. And I thought to myself, any one of these dudes could be in one of those last chance qualifier spots. And here we are, new names, more new people.
Yeah, I wasn't familiar with them either. Nick and Taylor were, Nick was within 3 points of fifth. Taylor was within 6 points. Nick also wins style points because they had a crop top on day one.
Ah, yeah. See, I'm
Yes,
telling you.
people love the crop top. I got so many people, please do a meme on the guy on the crop top. So of course, I messaged Granite Games. Can you guys get me a photo? And they did. Very nice of them. Thank you, Granite
Amazing.
Games. Thank you for sending me the photo. But again, like to your point, like I didn't know any of these people, and so it was fun to kind of get acquainted with new people, see how talented they are, and it wasn't a fluke. Like you could tell.
Yeah.
Like I'll give you an example. So Drew Waymans is one we've talked about before.
Yep.
He's been on the podium in sanctionals. Like he's trained with Amanda Barnhart. Like he's a solid competitor, and he looked super fit and did a really nice job. But it wasn't like Nick came out there and just find himself all of a sudden doing well. Like he was talented, and so was
Yeah.
Taylor. And so this was a tough field on the men's side. This was,
Yeah.
I think a lot of us looked at it and go, all right, well, Saxon, Tim, and Chandler should be the top three, and they were. But by the same token, I think all these men that finished fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth would have done just as well at the MAC, or they would do just as well at West Coast Classic. It's not a fluke that they were where they were. This wasn't a weak field. This was a good field.
Totally, totally. And to your original point too, solid programming, well-rounded test. Like I'm very glad to see the people who are making it, really making it.
Yeah.
And more bigger and different testing to come.
Yeah. The only thing I'll add about the weekend competition wise was teams. I watched it all. I'm not commenting on it. It was too chaotic for me. I cannot follow teams.
So many people out on the field to play at once.
People get so mad. People message me all day. What about teams? You didn't do an update on teams. I'm like, yeah, I watch teams. I can't follow it. It's too crazy. My ADD is going nuts. And it's just off the charts. It's too much for me.
I know. Apologies to the people who say we don't cover teams, and apologies also to the people who are complaining that we didn't cover Torian or Fittest in Cape Town. Morning Chalk Up has great recaps. Go read them.
Yeah, teams is weird for me. And this is no offense to the people who are on teams. Like I have a lot of friends that do teams. It is, compared to watching the individuals, it feels far more amateur to me, probably because it is. Like, a lot of these are just gyms putting together teams and competing. They're not all Froning's team.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
you're right. You're totally right.
So there is some like excitement and beauty in watching that, because it's like watching your buddies work out, but I'm not going to report on it. Like I don't talk about my buddies working out. Like
I do love the fact that we're back to the affiliate cup. That has a special place in my heart, and I know that there's a lot of people who argue against it and who really liked super teams and who thought that lended something else to the sport. But the team competition to me is a true reflection of what we are able to do in the affiliates, boots on the ground every day. Like you said, a lot of those team athletes are coaches or gym owners or just regular real life people who are insanely fit. So I'm super impressed by them. And yeah, it feels different when you're not watching Rich Running and team, but that is not a knock on them. I appreciate them for what they're doing.
I tell you what I do like about the teams event. It's the same thing I liked on the women's side I mentioned earlier, is that when the teams qualify, it's super fun to watch them qualify.
Yeah, it's cool.
Because these are kind of your everyday, they're all fitter than me, but they're still everyday Joe athletes. Yeah. They're not, these are not, elite games athletes. These are teams athletes. And when they qualify, they're like so excited. And I'm so excited for them. Like it's really, really a cool moment.
I love it.
Yeah, and they work their butts off.
Oh,
I sound like I'm critiquing them, and I certainly don't intend any offense to anyone on a team. Like they work their butts off and they earned it, and it's fun to watch people get what they earned, So
I like that.
Yeah.
Hey, can I give a little preview of what's going down next week?
Let's do it.
All right. So week 3 of semifinals is coming up, and there are 3 events not in North America. So for the first time, not in our backyard, if you will. So there's 2 in Europe. There's the Lowlands Throwdown in the Netherlands. There's the CrossFit German Throwdown as well. And then there's one in South America that is the Brazil CrossFit Championship. And these are all virtual events now, unfortunately. They were going to be in person, and then obviously COVID is still a thing differently in different parts of the world. So these are all going to be virtual events, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be ways to track the action. So stand by for more information on that.
Well, I'll watch it if I can. I don't know what time zones those guys are in, but I'll watch what I can.
Cool.
I will say watching this weekend, I hate to call it a disappointment because it wasn't disappointing, but there were not many people there. And I know for a
Oh,
number of reasons. First of all, it's hot as balls in Minnesota, and those guys can't handle it. That was part of it. We couldn't handle it in Ohio either. But it's crazy hot. They just relaxed their COVID restrictions like the rest of us.
yeah.
So, a lot of people not willing to do that, and we're on the tail end of a pandemic where people don't have a lot of money. So, all of that combined hurts the attendance on these, but it does make me a little nervous for the future of live events. Hopefully that'll pass and we'll get back to having lots of people and
Yeah, I kind of have the opposite. Like to me, like every couple hundred people you get in there is like more than I originally thought we're gonna get there. So it kind of gives me hope for live events. But I also like, it's brand new, like especially New England, we're still a little bit like conservative with like, mask wearing and things like that. So to me, when I start seeing people gather, I'm like, ooh, look at us getting back to real life. So I agree. It's a bummer that there weren't, a ton of people the way that there once were, but I have high hopes for games too, that, more people will come out and feel more comfortable and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I'm certainly not complaining about being maskless or, and I know they'll come back out. Like we're in a lucky position here right now where we've got more of that freedom where, these international events are still having to go virtual, so fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Get it fixed, and by games we'll all be hugging again.
Yeah. Bring on the hugs.
Oh, I can't wait. Games is gonna be fun.
Yeah.
All right. Bean is sitting here being a jerk. Bean has his own Instagram.
Oh yeah. Shout out that Instagram because it's the cutest thing I've seen all
Shout
day.
out to @Bean the Grumpy Cat, which is the most perfect name he needed because he is a total grump. My goal is to get him more followers than O'Roy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's got to happen. I got to put O'Roy in his place. He thinks he's famous now, and I need to at least have a cat that's got more followers than him. That's my goal. So.
Well, I mean, he's gonna have to. Being the grumpy cat is gonna have to interact with people as sharply as Roy does.
He probably will. He probably will.
Extra grumpiness, please.
Extra grumpiness. All right. Well, Nick, it's been fun. I wish you, I'm glad you had fun at the wedding, but I would love to see you on the sidelines. We have West Coast Classic in like 2 weeks, right?
I'm so excited. I heard it's going to be like 110 degrees in Vegas.
Yeah, but it's a dry heat. You know what they say?
I don't know.
They've got air conditioning in Vegas. It's not going to be outside on a football field like it was. Is it?
That's true. No. I think it's going to be indoors. We're going to be air conditioned and totally fine. And then we can just go to the pool after.
I know. I got to wear my thong. It's going to be fantastic.
I'm also going to wear my thong.
Are you? Sweet.
Wait, I'm not kidding. I have brand new bikini for this event. I'm bellies out. I worked out in shorts in the sports bra today at the gym. I give 0 Fs.
I wish I had pregnant woman energy.
Yeah.
I do not have it right now. I'm like squarely in, all right, everything that goes inside my body food wise, I'm like counting every macro and calorie, and it's like driving nuts because
I'm the complete opposite. I told Matt the other day I've never been so like free with my own nakedness ever, even just like around my house, because it's so weird and it doesn't feel like my body. So I'm like, whatever. Who wants to see it?
Nice. All right. Well, everybody show up to West Coast Classic. You'll get to see Nikki's thong. So that's very exciting. There you go. We'll get a second photo together. We'll use that as our new Instagram image.
Amazing for the next year.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Well, this has been fun as always. For everyone listening, thanks for joining, and we will chat with you guys soon.